Here we are on part 5 of the cross-country Indy, and we're making some good progress now. We're going to get the track and skid in. Keep watching. Who knows how far we'll get this time. All right, it's time to put the track on, and there's one thing you need to know about tracks, and that's that tracks are directional. And just like directional tires, there's an indicator. So in this case, it's this arrow here. The arrow points in the direction the track's going to rotate. So I have it sitting oriented correctly for the way the sled is right now. It's pointing towards the front of the sled. What happens if you put it in backwards is typically you'll hook up really good on acceleration, but your braking, you'll just slide. It's no good. Unless you're doing like snowmobile grass drags, then that's probably the best thing you could do. But anyways, put it in the right way for trails. All right, what I did just there was make a big loop so that I have space to get the drivers in towards the front. So once you get your drive shaft home against the bearing in the chain case, you need to stick your head up in the tunnel and make sure you got your drivers on right. So the track needs to be centered and the drives need to be centered in the lugs on the track. Pretty happy with this. This all looks good. So once you got that track on, check your jack shaft and your drive shaft. They should be centered in the hole, hanging on the bearings on the other side. They shouldn't be way off to any edge. This looks good. I'm going to keep on moving. Next thing I'm going to do is put these bearings on this side. Those bearings we greased up earlier, now is their time. Well, a certain amount of tap, tap, tap later, and we got it. So put our speedometer drive key in, our outer flange. Look how shiny that one is. Then we got our speedometer drive. It's a bunch of carriage bolts from the backside, the hard way. All right, loud noise time. If I was smart, I would have put the nut on that bolt before I put the track and driver in. Just got to get it done. All right, here's how I'm getting that bastard of a nut on. So got my little hammer wedged in here against the carriage bolt so it can't slide. I've got my 1/4-inch air ratchet, and then I've got a nut in a shallow socket on an extension. I'm just going to reach it up in there. There's no way I can get video of it, but I'm just going to reach up in there and get that thing to start. Hopefully it doesn't cross thread. Well, as you can see, that plan worked. So one win for the day. Actually, a lot of wins for the day, but that's a big win. So before I put the skid in, I need to back these adjusters all the way off, and then there's some slots in here, and they need to be lined up on the adjusters. And then I usually just snug these rear axle bolts down just so it all holds as far forward as it can be while I'm assembling it. All right, let's jam this skid in there. Ratchet straps are your friend when you're putting a skid in. All right, that's the front bolt, one of 4 bolts. I'm going to repeat on the other side. Okay, I got the forward bolt on the other side. Now I'm going to work on the rear scissors. So I have my ratchet strap hooked between the very front crossbar that the straps are on, and the rear scissors. You see I'm lowering it down. I can see the bolt now. And then I'm just using my ratchet to bring the rear scissor forward. There we go. All right, skid's all in. Things are looking good. Got some adjustment left to go on the track. That's good. It's not banjo tight. So we can't really do the tension until the motors run a little bit and let the track find its home. Then we'll tension it and center it up. But I don't know. It's a pretty good pull for today. I think she's starting to look like a snowmobile again now that it's got the track and skid under her. Let's get this chain case together. All right, so this is a later chain case, and I've got the old 11 wide gears. So I can tell you right now, this is probably set up for 13, maybe 15 wide, probably 15 wide. So we're gonna have to do a little shimming. No biggie. All right, looks like one less shim. So my goal is to get the end of the shaft just a little less than flush, just a little bit behind the face of the gear, so that when I tighten it up, it locks the gear down good. That's about right. And we'll torque her down and we'll make sure it doesn't pull the drive shaft out any. On the top, well, you've always got that spacer, no matter what. Uh-oh, look at that. My top shaft is a 15 tooth. Oh boy. We're going to have to go dig into the parts box. I forgot about that. Later jack shafts could be 15 splines instead of 13. This one is for sure a 15 spline. All right, I did some digging in my parts bin. This is for demonstration purposes only because I don't like this gearing. It's too tall. But I did come up with a 22 tooth 15 spline top gear and a 40 tooth bottom gear and a chain that works. I don't know. I think it's too tall for this motor even with the big bore kit, but I want to show you how you do the chain alignment. So basically you just put a straight edge on there and everything should be dead even. If it's coming out one way or the other, that's no good. So this thing came out right on the first try. All right, here we are on a rainy Wednesday night in Minnesota, but life's really pretty good because my 19 tooth top sprocket got in already. So you can see I kept the 40 tooth on the bottom. It just gears it down just a little over the 39. And I've checked my alignment, got everything shimmed right. I'm real happy with this. So we're getting pretty close to buttoning it up. I guess we'll get the hardware on there quick, and then I'll come back and show you how to do the alignment. So here's the thing I'm picky about, because I've had a problem in the past. I've had one of my sprocket bolts back out and wreck chain sprocket, chew up the case. It was an expensive mess. So since then, I use a brand new bolt with a patch lock on it. I usually get them right from my Polaris dealer. And there's the number if you want it. Otherwise, your dealer can help you look up the number. It's cheap insurance. It's way cheaper than chains and gears. Okay, I got my patch bolt down here on the bottom. Up top, I got my spring washer, nut, cotter pin all set up. So the last thing to show you is the tension, and the tension's pretty easy. Just back off the jam nut, and then wind this bolt in just with your fingers, just finger tight. Then back it off. So it's finger tight, so you can see the chain barely moves, and then back it off exactly one flat, and perfect. Absolutely perfect. So then just hold the bolt still, lock the lock nut, put the cover on, call your chain case good. All right, let's get the brakes done next. So got a hose from an Indy, which makes sense since the caliper's from an Indy. I believe this is going to screw right into the master cylinder up on the handlebars. We'll find out in a couple minutes. And then got some new pads. Got to load them up. Let's see, which side of the caliper is which? I believe we're going to want to go this way. All right. Get it started a little further than that. Get pad on. The other pad in there. There we go. All right, all set to drop that in and plumb it. Because I switched the caliper, I switched the switch, so I'm going to put just a couple little female 1/4-inch spade terminals on there so I can plug that into the new brake switch. All right, I got my brakes in. You can see I've got that nice Indy hose, much nicer than that beat-up hose we had before. And it did go right into the old school master cylinder, so that's kind of nice. Overall, things have come together pretty good. Next things I need to do, I need to tighten up the set screws on the jack shaft and chain case on those bearings. And fill up the chain case. And then I think I need to put the motor in and test fit the pipes and see how that's going to work out. So probably bring you back once I got the motor sitting in there. Let's get the motor out of this donor sled. Bring you over here and show you how the coolant drain works so nice on these leaf spring sleds. The leaf springs, you can get a bucket right there underneath this drain. It's super nice. And clear. Well, I'm sure people are going to want to know how to identify this motor as a big bore. Well, for one thing, if I get my light in there correctly, you can see that there's 2 piston rings. That's a sign of a 404 big bore. Over here on the stock motor, there's only 1 ring. So that's one way, but the more sure method is to actually measure the bore. And so to do that, I drop the piston down as far as I can, just so I can just hook the edge of the top of the piston. And then I just use my caliper across the piston, not on the port, but the piston. And there you go. I didn't have it perfectly square, but you can see that's a little over 68. I've measured it with 2 hands, and it is 68, which is correct for a big bore. And when I do the same over here, I get 62.5. So that's it. If somebody's ever trying to sell you what they claim is a 404 big bore TXL motor, measure the bore. That's the only way to know for sure. Well, this motor's filthy, and I didn't go to all that trouble of cleaning the sled to put a filthy motor in it. So I'm going to spend a little time with some degreaser getting this clean. I'm not going to use brake cleaner, because brake cleaner will take all the writing right off that label. So just want to point out, I have my port block offs on here that I use for pressure checking engines. I've got that drain plug back in. I got the spark plugs back in. I'm taking all the precautions I can to keep the inside of the motor dry while I go through this cleaning process. And now that I think about it, I'm going to do it outside tomorrow. I don't want to do this in the shop tonight. Well, now that I've shown you how to tell a 404 big bore from a 340 with 100% certainty, I think it's time to close out part 5. In part 6, we're going to drop this motor into the chassis and see how the pipes fit, figure out what modifications we maybe do or don't have to do to make them fit the Indy chassis. So anyways, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and let your old sled buddies know about this channel. So thanks for watching.